أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Hello everyone. In the previous video, we did a Quran study on the word sajada and all its occurrences in the Quran. We looked at the word sajada and if it was a physical prostration or if it just meant submission. This time, we are going to look at the word Ruk'u, which comes from the root RaKa'a. And we are going to do a Quran study on all the incidents and occurrences of the word Ruk'u and its derivatives inside the Quran to see if it is pointing at a physical action, i.e. bowing down, or if it means being respectful or something mental and not physical. So without further ado, let's hear Quran out and let the Quran teach us, because Quran actually has the meanings inside itself. If you read the Quran with open eyes, without being biased, without prejudices, Quran actually teaches us the meaning of these critical words itself. The meaning is in it. We have to be similar to an empty cup of water ready to be filled with the knowledge of the Quran. If we come to the game already as a filled cup, there is no knowledge that we can learn from Quran. We might as well turn aside and do what we want to do and not submit to Allah and His word. The first verse we are going to look at is 2:43. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ. It means stand the salah. وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. And give the zakah. وَارْكَعُوا مَعَ الرَّاكِعِينَ. And perform Ruk'u with those who perform Ruk'u. I am not going to translate Ruk'u here. As you can see, obviously says bow down in prayer with all who bow down. So I'm just going to say Ruk'u so we can actually explore and find the true meaning of it, okay? Now let's look at the next verse, 3:43. It's actually an important verse, but I have already explained this verse in detail in my salah videos. You can actually look it up over there, so I'm not going to go through that. 22:77 does not tell us much about the meaning of the word Ruk'u. One thing I want you to pay attention to, however, is that the word Ruk'u and SUJUD are often paired together in the Quran. They're pointing towards two things that follow each other closely. So Ruk'u always comes before SUJUD, except for here, except for the verse above at 3:43, and I explain why that is in my salah video. Next verse we want to look at is 77:48. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمُ ارْكَعُوا لَا يَرْكَعُونَ. Whenever they are told to perform Ruk'u, they refuse. They do not perform Ruk'u. If you remember our previous video about SUJUD or prostration, there was a prophecy in there about a group of people who will refuse to perform SUJUD while they are alive on earth and they are healthy and physically capable to perform SUJUD. Allah said that in the day of judgment they are going to be called upon to perform SUJUD, but they can't. And the reason for that is that in this world, while they were alive, they would refuse to perform prostration and SUJUD, even though they were physically capable to do that and they were healthy, right? Here, 77:48 is a very similar situation. Allah is talking about the same situation, but this time about Ruk'u. It is a prophecy about this group of people that would refuse to perform Ruk'u. So I encourage you to read verse number 43 of chapter 68 in the Quran, and that hopefully will clarify this verse for you as well, because as I mentioned, Ruk'u and Sujud always happen together. So before performing Sujud, you have to perform Ruk'u, and that's why this verse really ties in and goes together with 68:43. Next occurrence again is 243. Is the second occurrence, this time as RaKa'in, or those who perform Ruk'u. Once again, this is a commandment. Stand the salah, give the zakah, and perform Ruk'u with those who perform Ruk'u. I am repeating this twice because actually we are going to get to an example of this in action later on in 5:55. 2:125. Again, you can see Ruk'u and Sujud happening together. The next verse I want us to look at together is 5:55. Remember, we just discussed 2:43, right? In 2:43, Allah commanded the believers, Aqimu salah, perform the salah, stand the salah, atu zakah, give the zakah, warka'u ma'a raki'in. Perform Ruk'u with those who perform Ruk'u. So that was the commandment in 2:43 that we just looked at, right? 5:55 is an example of that verse. So what does 5:55 tell us? Your allies, your friends are only Allah and His Messenger and those who believe. Then it actually defines those who believe for us. So who are those who believe? الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ, those who stand the salah, وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ, and give the zakah, وَهُمْ رَاكِعُونَ, and they perform Ruk'u. So this is actually giving an example of 2:43. This is really important because so many people have gone wrong in regards to this verse. If you look at some Islamic denominations, they translate this verse as those who give zakah while they are performing Ruk'u. And because of that, they have come up with all sorts of creative and interesting ideas to justify that. Whereas all this verse is giving us is an example of 2:43. Let's just go back to 2:43. Stand the salah, give the zakah, and perform Ruk'u with those who perform Ruk'u, right? Now let's go back to 5:55. Those who stand the salah, give the zakah, and perform Ruk'u. So it's talking about the exact same thing here. Warka'u ma'a raki'in. Here's the command, and here's the example. Wahum raki'un, and they perform Ruk'u. So you should not be translating this as those who give zakah while they are performing Ruk'u. That's a huge mistake. You have to read the Quran verses together. You have to connect them together. Quran means something that you connect. You cannot read Quranic verses in isolation. So this is really important. I have seen a lot of people go wrong when it comes to that, and they say, how can you give the zakat while you are performing Ruk'u? Well, this verse is not talking about that. You have to read this verse together with 2:43. And there's so many other examples of Quran using the exact same structure without meaning while. So there's so many examples of this similar structure in the Quran. 9:22, once again, الراكعون الساجدون, those who perform Ruk'u and perform prostration. You can see that Allah has paired them together. The reason is you cannot perform Sujud without doing Ruk'u. They're together. When you are performing Sujud, naturally you just bow down and then you perform Sujud. So that's why Allah pairs them together all the time. You're going to see it all the time. 22:26. Again, al-qa'imin wa ruk'a as-sujud. Ruk'u and Sujud paired together. I have explained this verse in detail in my salah videos, so I really recommend you watch those. You're going to understand it really well. But the important and key verse that I want to talk to you about is actually 38:24. So I'm not going to go over everything that happened here. You can read it for yourself. I'm just going to focus on the last part. Otherwise, this video is going to become really long, and I don't want that to happen. So here Allah says, وَخَرَّ RaKa'a. Kharra is used for when something falls down. It says he fell down while doing Ruk'u. So the word Ruk'u is used for David, for Prophet David, while he was falling down. So the word Kharra actually proves 100% that Ruk'u is a physical act. And the reason is every time Quran uses the word Kharra, it is referring to falling down, a physical falling down. Let's just look at it together. So 7:143. So Moses fell down unconscious. Kharra Musa sa'iqa. What happened here is that Moses was standing, but after he saw what he saw, he fell unconscious. Now when you fall unconscious, obviously you become unconscious as you fall down, right? So it's very clear. So Kharra again is talking about a person here, Prophet Moses, when he became unconscious and fell down. Next verse that I want to show to you is 16:26. This is a very important verse. فَأَتَى اللَّهُ بُنْيَانَهُمْ مِنَ الْقَوَاعِدِ. It says God visited with destruction all that they had built at its very foundation. Then it says فَخَرَّ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّقْفُ مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ. So that the roof fell down on them from above. So again, you can see Allah is referring to the roof of a house when it gets destroyed and falls down as the action that happens with the verb kharra. So فَخَرَّ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّقْفُ مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ. Just imagine you are sitting in your room and you look at the roof that is on top of you. When that roof falls down, that is kharra. So that roof kharra, it means that roof fell down. So Allah is making it so clear in the Quran so we don't go wrong. So whenever you see the word kharra, you should be thinking about something that falls down in a physical way. Next verse that I want to show you is 1990. تَكَادُ السَّمَاوَاتُ يَتَفَطَّرْنَ مِنْهُ وَتَنْشَقُّ الْأَرْضُ وَتَخِرُّ الْجِبَالُ حَتَّى. It says the heavens might well be very close to be rent into fragments, and the earth be split asunder, and the mountains fall down in ruins. Again, Allah is giving you the exact same picture. Just like the roof that is high and falls down, now Allah is using the word kharra for the mountains and the fact that they will fall down like the roof. They will just fall down in ruins. Next verse, 22:31. This is a very important verse when you're looking at the verb kharra as well. وَمَنْ يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ فَكَأَنَّمَا خَرَّ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. So whoever associates with Allah, it is as if that person خَرَّ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. It means fell down from heaven. خَرَّ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. Fell down from heaven. Just like the roof, just like the mountain, fell down from heaven. Again, it's the same picture that Allah is showing us in our minds so we know what kharra is. But the best verse that I believe hands down tells you the true meaning of the word kharra is 34:14. All of the verses we looked at are excellent, but this verse is something else because it's actually talking about David's son, Prophet Solomon. It is a very interesting verse. It's a very interesting chapter of the Quran. I recommend you read it. فَلَمَّا قَضَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ الْمَوْتِ. It says when we decreed death on Solomon, مَا دَلَّهُمْ عَلَى مَوْتِهِ إِلَّا دَابَّةُ الْأَرْضِ تَأْكُلُ مِنْ سَعَتَهِ. It says nothing led them to his death except for the creature of the earth which was eating his cane or his staff. So there was this creature, probably a termite, that was eating his staff. So imagine Solomon is standing and relying on his staff. So everyone was thinking that Solomon is standing and watching. While he was standing and relying on his staff, there was this termite that was eating through his staff. And then it says, فَلَمَّا خَرَّ. And when he fell down, فَلَمَّا خَرَّ. When he fell down, تَبَيَّنَتِ الْجِنِّ. The jinn realized that actually they don't know the unseen. But I don't want to go through the whole thing. But the thing is that it's actually telling us what kharra is. Look, imagine in your mind, close your eyes for 2 seconds. Imagine Solomon standing, relying on his staff or on his cane. And then suddenly his staff breaks and then he falls. That is kharra. So Solomon falls down. So that is kharra. And remember, Solomon is David's son. So it is very interesting that Allah uses the word kharra for both Solomon and David. Obviously, they are at the same time frame. They are very close together. So it's very interesting. So as you can see in 34:14, Allah talks about Solomon and describes for us how his falling down was actually a physical event that happened because a termite or a creature ate through his staff and then he fell down, right? And then in 38:24, Allah uses the same word for David. It says, وَخَرَّ رَاكِعًا وَأَنَابَ. So here Prophet David, وَخَرَّ رَاكِعًا. So what is kharra? At this time you should know the meaning of the word kharra much better than I do. You should be experts in it. Kharra happens when something falls, when something comes from above and hits the ground. That is kharra. So what happens here? Kharra RaKa'a. It means David fell down. But Allah is telling us the manner of his falling down. While he's falling down, he's actually bowing down and then going down to the floor. So Allah uses kharra RaKa'an. So Allah is telling us that Ruk'u is actually a physical act. Ruk'u happens when you are falling down, when you are standing and you suddenly are coming down. That's when Ruk'u happens. You fall down. So what happens when you're falling down? You bow down first and then you kneel and then you prostrate. You put your forehead on the floor. So that is Ruk'u and SUJUD, and that's exactly why you constantly see Ruk'u and SUJUD, bowing down and prostration paired together in the Quran. It's really important. You have to pay attention. Allah gives us the meaning of these critical words in the Quran itself. We don't need to go too far to find out the true meaning of the word kharra, as I demonstrated to you. Allah gives us clear examples in the Quran so we understand, so we know 100% that the word kharra is referring to a physical fall from a higher position to a lower position. And that's exactly what happens when you're standing and you do Ruk'u. You fall down from a higher position to a lower position, and from there you perform prostration. And that's exactly what happened in 34:14 to Solomon and in 38:24 to Prophet David. Now let's go back to the other occurrences of the word Ruk'u in the Quran. And this is the last occurrence of the word Ruk'u, 48:29. Again, you can see Ruk'u and SUJUD paired together. So after these two videos about Ruk'u or bowing down and SUJUD or prostration, it should be very clear to you that both Ruk'u and SUJUD, bowing down and prostration, are physical acts that happen when a person falls down from a higher position to a lower position on the floor. As I mentioned, Allah gave us several examples about the word khara. We looked at Moses when he fell down unconscious. What happened to Moses? He was standing, he fell down. In 16:26, Allah gave us the example of the roof of a house when it falls down, and Allah uses the exact same word, khara, for the roof when it falls down from a higher position to the floor. In 17:107, Allah tells us, يَخِرُّونَ لِلْأَذْقَانِ سُجَّدًا. It means they fall down towards their chins, not on their chins. Please do not make that mistake. I have heard people say they fall down on their chins. No, it is talking about the direction of falling down, direction of going down. And you can actually perform an experiment yourself. When you are going down towards your chin. That's a direction. Allah is giving you the direction. Otherwise, somebody would fall down backward, right? So if Allah had not clarified that you have to fall down towards in the direction of your chin, then I am pretty sure, 100% sure, that somebody would say, Allah has not said it, so I would like to fall down on my right side, or I would like to fall down backward, or I would like to fall down on my left side. So Allah is actually clarifying it for us that, hey, no, you have to fall down towards the direction of your chin, to the front, not to your right, not to your left, and not to your back. So that's how precise Allah is. So that's why it says يَخِرُّونَ لِلْأَذْقَانِ سُجَّدًا. It means they fall down from their higher position of standing towards the direction of their chin in prostration. In 17:109, وَيَخِرُّونَ لِلْأَذْقَانِ يَبْكُونَ. Again, they fall down towards the direction of their chin, not on their chin, towards the direction of their chin. Not to the right, not to the left, not backward. Front towards the direction of their chin. 1958, خَرُّوا سُجَّدًا. They fell down. Again, just like the roof, just like the mountain, just like Moses, just like when somebody falls down from heaven. Here, Allah is describing the believers. It says they fall down from their higher position of standing down to the floor in prostration while they are shedding tears and crying. 1990, it talks about the mountains close to the day of judgment when everything gets destroyed and these mountains will fall down, they crumble. 22:31, again, one more time, Allah is talking about those who associate with Him and says their example is as if someone falls from heaven. Again, you see the same thing, fall from heaven. And we went through the story of Prophet Solomon and Prophet David together and how Allah used the word khara in reference to both these prophets and how they fell down from their position of standing, bowing down, and then prostrating. So my brothers and sisters, as you can see, Allah does not leave any doubt whatsoever for us that the word Ruk'u is actually referring to the physical act of bowing down, and it's a prelude or a precursor to SUJUD or prostration. So before you perform SUJUD, you have to do Ruk'u. It just comes natural. When you do it, you can see that it actually comes really natural. You go down and you actually go down towards the direction of your chins, not towards the right side, not towards the left side, and not backward. Allah actually has clarified for us so we don't go wrong. Even the direction of falling down, Allah has clarified for us, and the manner of it and everything. So this is really important, brothers and sisters. All I can do is just go through the Quran, show you the verses, and this is obviously my opinion, and this is the way I understand the Quran. But as I showed to you, Quran is so clear. Quran is crystal clear as to Ruk'u or bowing down and SUJUD or prostration. They are both physical acts that happen when a person falls down from a position of standing towards their chin, bows down, and then kneels and prostrate on their face. So Allah makes it very clear for us. Allah uses the word kharra and then defines the word kharra very clearly for us in the Quran, so we know what we have to do, because Allah wants to guide us and Allah doesn't want us to go wrong or be confused. And as I have mentioned before, Quran is the best and most complete book I have ever seen. It has everything we need in it. The answers to all our questions are already in it. All we need to do is to look within the Quran for those answers. Thank you so much, brothers and sisters, for listening to this humble brother of yours doing a Quran study with you and for you. Peace and blessings to all of you, and until next time, ma'as salam, and may Allah keep you all safe, sound, and healthy.